Smash Factor.
Ripping driver, going for it. Oh my goodness. How about that tee shot?
That is crazy how far that is.
Wow. John Daly, take a back seat, big fella. How about that drive?
That's an aggressive line. That is beyond long.
Look at this, he's just driven the green. He has just driven the green.
I guess hello world, huh?
Welcome everybody to the Smash Factor Sony Open 2020-2021 edition. Up here as usual, we are on week 14 of the 2020-2021 PGA season. Full field event to get us rolling after a little tease last week on the 41 or 42 man event, whatever it was. Do a quick recap of that, go through Listener League, then we'll get straight into the tourney preview, Sweet 16, betting, one and done. Yes, one and done is back. We'll go through that and then wrap it up. Keep it quick, brief this week. We got a lot of guys to get through, but first kind of big, deep dive into it. Very weakish, quote unquote, compared to normal in the 6K range. I wouldn't say compared to normal. It just seems like there's not as many strong potential plays there. There are, though, a lot in the 7K. So I do think you can get several low 7 to 7,500 type guys. There's a few in the 6 that are definitely worthy. We'll get to those, but be an interesting build this week. We got, like I think DraftKings right now before the Monday Qs, 136 guys as of recording loaded into DraftKings. So definitely a little bit more strategy than last week. T65 on the cuts as usual. So we'll get into that a little bit. Got some data coming out to the premium members on that I've been working on through the off season. So really looking forward to this week. Full-fledged go. Last week though, it was one of those weeks where you're pretty frustrated Sunday night. At least I was. Not with the results per se, but just you thought it was way worse than what it was. I went back through yesterday morning. This is Tuesday. I'm doing Smash a little bit later this week, but and man, it really just came down to two big decisions, but nothing that I was going to move off of. So I'm okay with the results because I said I was going to fade English. I did fade him. Didn't really change my mind come Wednesday. I wasn't as strong on the fade there, but still wasn't one of the guys I was super high on. And I went way too much on Matsu. So between those two, and they're right around the same price. I think 8,700, 9,000 was really the difference in my week. The rest of the pool that I had and the guys I got to did well. A lot of Neiman, a lot of Palmer, a lot of Sung Jae, many lineups I looked at that were, I bubbled the 444. I had a bullet in there with Matsu in it, who finished dead last in the tournament. So very strong lineup in the single build with Matsu. So it really, I switched English to Matsu. I think I would have won it if I looked right. I've been close. It was like a 90-point difference between those two or something, 80-point difference. It was crazy. But I don't get to the point where I'm like, man, if I just would have switched to my win, because I wasn't going to be on English. So when he goes off, he gained what I looked up earlier, 67% of his strokes last week was gained by putting, which we know he's really good at putting. And it just never died off for him. Putted lights out, played well enough, got the win. Congrats to him. On my process, I go, all right, 90% of what I did was pretty good, really good actually. And I just made a bad move completely fading him. And, Matsu lost, I don't know what he winded up losing. Going into Sunday, he had lost 10.5 strokes putting and almost 12 total short game. So obviously tee to green was okay. It wasn't even great, but the putting was just horrendous. One of the worst putting performances we've ever seen. So you just got to live with that. Move on. But the reason for going through that kind of process that I talked about in the big article I put out, I think it was 9 pages long, the golf process, which is basically cradle to grave, my entire process. Each week's going to have a little bit of different stuff, but it really hits on most of the things. is to, kind of reinsure yourself. Where did you mess up? Where did the guys that won, what do they excel at in the contest you're looking at? Sometimes it can be the other way. You can think you did really good that week, but quote unquote, you got lucky on this or that, and you win. So sometimes you want to make sure that you're not overconfident going into your process either. This one I come out feeling pretty good, ready to lock and load, full field here. Another Hawaii event, typically low scoring. Last year was not, but so all in all, pretty good betting wise. The monkey knife fight stuff I did, and I started doing it late in the fall, where I was putting them out, inconsistent with it, but I put some out this week. I told you guys I do, and I did every day. I had at least one play of the day for every single round, the full tournament going into Thursday, and then each round, and those turned out well. I think I only had one losing. I'd have to double check that. Betting, right there with first round leader, had Palmer and M, both finished T3, the two-way tie for the first round leader, and then they were 2 shots back. So had a chance with them. Outrights on Sunday. M wasn't ever really live in it, but he was up there. But Neiman and Palmer were obviously. Palmer started out the day, very alive, and then Neiman charged and makes the putt on 18, and he wins it. Right, he'd won it by 1. They wouldn't even went to the playoff. But 2 close guys had a chance at it. Overall, losing week on both ends. I think betting with the matchups I may have came out. I do that on Tuesday, so I'll do that a little bit later today. But monkey knife fight was positive on the week, and then DK was a loss. Showdown on Sunday had some sweat there, just not enough of the right pieces at the very end to get anything big, but. Roll on it next week, see how we do. If you want to join now, as always, 15% off for the listeners. GC15 gets you that. Lots of good things coming. I was on a conference call last night. Couldn't be more exciting for the new updated, if you want to call it, website. I don't use the word updated because we really are building this from the ground up. So although nothing will change for you guys as far as it's still going to be gupscorner.com, all that stuff. Bobby Gould and I are working on it, hand in hand. I'm just helping him. He's doing the work. Trust me. Does a very good job. But what I saw yesterday, I'm very excited. We're still, early phases of it all, and I can't wait to roll out. Pretty confident. Our original goal was U.S. Open. Very confident we'll make that. Obviously, if we can get it out sooner, the better. But looking forward to you guys seeing that and seeing all the work and capital we're putting in back into the business. And you guys will love the new site. A lot of new features we're going to have in there that's going to be really awesome. Also will enhance our tools and the Green Machine, the ability to do more things in there in that atmosphere that we're creating it in. If you want to get some gear, we do have some extra of these hats that we did the promo. I'm going to get those up on the site. Very limited, but we'll have some of those. The traditional combo pack is still up there, HV3, very few HV3s in the original Master shirt, like less than 10, 20 type. So if you want to go buy anything on the site, 20% off, still use the code Aloha from last week and get 20% off everything. Even these when I get them loaded, we'll just do it on everything. Big push. I'm starting to work on some of the new gear and stuff for the rest of this year. I'm going to load up the inventory on the store. Some ideas you guys have talked about. A lot of guys like the golf balls and logos and stuff like that. Obviously, we use it for giveaways and stuff, so that kind of stuff will always be good. I did add a video for I told you guys about that one last week, to the actual Green Machine going through it, but I added another video, very short, probably 5 minutes if you missed it. Because a lot of people seem to struggle with how do I properly download my lineups from DraftKings and say I've built them in the Green Machine or I built them in the hand, Excel, whatever. I got 20 lineups I need to load back in. Like a lot of guys were like, they'd build their lineups and they were like putting their lineups in on their phone or whatever. So I did the video and it had a person test it out that's never been on DraftKings, hardly has never done MME, new to DFS and all that, and just wanted him to watch the video and see if he could successfully do it. And, had built 20 lineups in the Green Machine and downloaded from DraftKings and uploaded took him like less than a minute. So it's really, really easy. If you're not familiar with it, hopefully the video really helps you out. It's 5 minutes max. If you missed the first one, I think both of them combined are about 20 minutes. So nothing that takes up your time by any means. Listener League will be in the pod. It is up. 300 entries this week. I think we got it last year to almost maybe 700 by the time we got to the Masters. So really want to build that up. I'd love to get it close to 1,000. Quicker we fill it, the better, it shows to those guys. The lowest reduced rate you can have. Obviously it's not a no rate contest, but for what we can do, it's the lowest rate out there. Go fill that up. It's a 3 max, $7.50, so $22.50 to get you all in it. Each winner gets into the season-long Tournament of Champions. The NFL one went great. Good prizes given out there. We'll have big prizes for this one. With golf, it's just the winner each week gets in. I think with the majors and maybe the WGCs, we're going to do the top 3, depending on how big we make the contest. I got to go back and see what I did for the Masters. I think it was a top 3. Last week's winner, Dimple Burner, 737 points. So you can tell it was definitely a birdie fest and a lot of scoring up there. Cantley, English, Neiman, Berger, Palmer, Billy Ho, all of which I had a ton of except for English. So he made the great call, staying on English Air. Tremendous lineup. Hopefully he had that in some other places and took some stuff down. Good job on him. I will send you the invite to get into the League of Champions for the end of the season. Tourney preview, as always, I will push you towards our guy, Kenny Kim. Check out his podcast. He goes in depth there. Or if you're a premium member, he also puts out a big article for the course preview and then adds to it as we get through the week to Wednesday, and adds his favorite salary, favorite play in each salary, his cash game cornerstones, his favorite bets, and all that. So that's always a good read for anybody. We are at the Walleye Country Club. Most people are familiar with this. Every year it kind of gets brought up because it used to be like the very first video game golf course that people remember the most. Obviously still in Hawaii on Honolulu. Par 70, a little over 7,000. One of the easiest courses when you look at strength of courses among the whole tour. Ironically, I was doing some of my back work on my projects. I thought I'd messed up some of the data because two of these holes come out as some of the hardest holes of all the tour, of all the PGA Tour. But as a whole, the 18 holes, this is one of the easiest courses. 2 of the easiest par 5s. There is only 2 par 5s, 4 par 3s, and 12 par 4s. Last year, the wind was way up. In reviewing the notes from last year, had some rain. You can tell, I think Cam Smith won. I don't remember if it was a playoff or not, but he was minus 11. We had Palmer here last year. Remember, he was on either 17 or 18. I think he was on 18 in that bunker. And because he hadn't seen what had happened in front of him, I think he was under the impression, I don't remember it completely, like he either had to get up and down from there, and he's like, 200, he's hitting like a wood. I think he thought he needed an eagle there to try to get in the playoff. But what happened in front of him, he actually could have got away with a birdie, and he hit it out of that bunker and flew it far right. Really got in trouble. He still won at 4th, but a little brutal beat there because we had him here last year. But definitely, if you're using our tools, and you can, I talked about this early in the year, you can easily exclude a year when you're looking at course data. You may want to exclude last year's because it's an anomaly when you look at the last 4 years as far as the weather is concerned and the scoring. Much harder scoring last year than what it has been. This year looks to be, it's been wet a little bit. We saw that last week, and they still had some rain here. Could have some easy conditions as far as that goes, but not much rain throughout the actual tournament this coming up week. They are getting some rain today, and then it looks like it's pretty much gone till Sunday. Now, the system coming in Sunday is a big system. It looks to be lasting Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. The only thing we'd keep an eye on, it won't affect our pre-tourney stuff because let's say it just moves up a day, it could affect the weekend. We'll keep an eye on that. But as far as the winds and all that, very calm, very nice conditions until we get to Sunday, and we'll just have to see how that is, come around then. But as far as pre-tournament and waves and stacks or anything like that, Thursday and Friday look great. Very little winds. I expect the scoring we'd seen the previous 4 or 5 years as opposed to what we saw last year. So something you want to keep an eye on when you're doing your research. I got the cut at -2 this year. It was +1 last year. Again, harder conditions. It's been averaging about -1, but factoring in the T65 and everything, I'm going to go with a -2 cut. And I'm going to go with the winning score -20. Sunday could be a little tougher, and so may see some great scoring the first 3 days and then a kind of a battle to the end on Sunday. You know, if Sunday winds up not being as bad, we could see this get to 23, 24 under, just like last week. So we'll keep an eye on that as we get to the end of the week. Either way, you're looking at a lot of birdies, a lot of scoring out there. A little bit different because you only got 2 of the par 5s, but and they are super easy. So I'm not really weighing par 5 scoring a whole lot. A, there's only 2 of them, and B, most of them are easy to get to, or both of them are easy to get to for almost everybody. So unless we hear by Wednesday like it's really soft and stuff's not rolling out, and you may want to bump some of the guys that have a little bit longer, I'm not doing that yet, but that's something I'm going to keep an eye on and listening to in the pressers and stuff like that the rest of the day today, and then tomorrow as we wrap up into the final thoughts and do E9 tomorrow late afternoon. Prior winners here, just kind of give you a profile per se. Nothing, I mean, anybody can win here. You'll hear, older guys, which is true. There's correlation to guys that got to play last week, back-to-back weeks, kind of shaking it off. Probably a little bit different this year, mainly because a lot of these guys played so late into the year where now they still had a good break. So it still, I think, could be a factor. But, a lot of these guys played RSM, Mayakoba, some of them even played the Master. So a lot more reps towards the end of the year than maybe traditional. Back in the day, quote unquote, before the new scheduling, FedEx and all that kind of stuff, guys would almost use these first 4 to 6 weeks as just shaking off the whole rust. Some of these guys have been off, back in the day, could be off since September, October, maybe played a little bit in October, November, but definitely not like it is now. I mean, these guys are starting to realize how important it is to get off to a good start in the fall swing, quote unquote, and get some of those FedEx Cup points and stuff like that. You see Adam Scott over here much earlier than he's ever been, and he's talked about that in the past, how, he can't show up no more in, late February, right before basically like the Waste Management or something like that, and start rolling. You're way behind the 8 ball on the FedEx Cup points and stuff like that. So definitely interesting as we get more years under us, how people's scheduling starts to look as it relates to that. Cam Smith last year, as I mentioned, at 11 under. Year before was Kuchar, 22 under. Kazire, 17 under. JT, 27 under. Gomez, 20 under. Back-to-back for Jimmy Walker, 23 under and 17 under. Henley, 24 under. Wagner, 13 under. Wilson, 16 under. And then Ryan Palmer, 15 under, our prior winners. Very hit or miss too also. You've had, so here's the last 6 years here. 9-stroke victory, playoff. 7-stroke victory, playoff. 4-stroke victory, playoff. So very weird how you've had some runaways mixed in with playoffs. A few keynote runner-ups. Still last year, Hahn, who's in the field, Rose, Snedeker, Piercy, Chris Kirk. So those kind of guys have been in play as well here. Key stats for the week for me, I'm looking at stroke gain iron play, which for us is a stat we kind of combine approach and around the green. Birdie or better, ball striking, scoring opportunities inside 12 feet, and good approach for me, which really kind of blends how well the approach is on proximity, but as it relates to a percentage of the field, how much better have they done. So I like that stat more than just raw proximity for me personally. Salary ranges, 10K, 6 guys, 9K, 5 guys, 8K, 10 guys, 7K, 35 guys, 6K, 80 guys. So 59% of the field are now in the 6K. We hit on that a little bit last week, how much, how big that 6K range can be. And you start breaking it down and, people talk about how many guys we talk about each week. Obviously I've went to kind of the Sweet 16 model, fade sleeper, and then a, kind of gut feel type deal. And it, from high view, you're like, well, you're only hitting 16 to maybe 18, 20 guys in total. But if you eliminate the 6K, there's only 56 guys that we're analyzing. Now, we can't eliminate the 6K. It definitely matters, but much more risk down there and deep diving and stuff like that. Every once in a while, you have some mispricing and some guys that you can really take advantage of. But when you're talking about 56 guys that are 7,000 or above, and we're going to look through about 16 of those between the 12 and those ranges we go through, plus most of the gut feel comes from there. Sleeper can come from there. We're hitting almost half, 40% of the guys. And then we got to hit on the 6K as much as how's it look this week and where can we take advantage. It does not look like, I had one of my worst ownership projections last week, and it really just and I write it up now every week, and I go through how I think I did, and then the numbers say how you did, but where it may have went wrong or where it went really right. Like Mayakoba, I think, was one of my best ownership projections ever. But last week, a lot more stars and scrubs than I anticipated, although there's only 42 guys, so things can get wayward in a hurry there. A lot of people were fine going down to Streb and guys like that and just plugging in a spot and getting as many high-profile players as possible. I don't see that this week. I do see you could get a lot of the lower sevens in there, and then have some 8s, 9s, or higher price guys, but I don't see a lot of people living in the 6s this week like we did last week. And typically I have quite a few guys up there in my rankings that are good. It's just this week most of them are like right at 7,000, 71, 73. Still have some 6 guys will sprinkle in, but I think it's going to be interesting to see how the industry responds and how they're looking at the value this week. To me, it screams a balanced week with maybe a one-up guy up high, or maybe your 3 guys down there in the 7s, low 7s, and then like a balanced hybrid, not stars and scrub, but can still get your guys up there, but maybe you miss a 9K guy and drop down and just go 8s or something like that, or you do your 9, 4 7s even, and a 10. I mean, those are all possible because of the way the pricing and the guys roll out this week. So without further ado, we'll roll into the Sweet 16. If you're new to the pod, appreciate it. Obviously, the number one growing sport, I know for DraftKings for 2 years running, percentage-wise, has been DFS golf and PGA. That's shown by look at the pots this week. I was pretty surprised at how big they were for the second week of the year, first full. You go back 2 years, we weren't remote. These were almost major type. You got 200K up top, 100K in the 44, 100K in the 4. I mean, impressive, awesome for us. Us guys that live and breathe the old PGA world. Good to see it. NFL dying down, but still big 4-game slate this week. So I'm impressed that they had it there, and I hope it continues to grow. So appreciate your support if you're new to the pod. I do the Sweet 16. I do all 4 salary ranges, 9K and above, 8K, 7K, 6K. I give you 3 picks and then a bubble boy. So that kind of 4 picks each zone gets us to 16. I do a fade of the week, a sleeper of the week. I do 4 gut feel plays that are kind of outside the top 25 in my rankings, but for one thing or another, I still like them. That's my way of trying to get a little bit more guys out there. And then we hit betting strategy, one and done now that it's back, and we call it a day. So we'll start off with 9K or above. I like Webb. I'll be interested. I don't think it's going to be a chalk Webb week because like I mentioned, I think the pricing drifts more towards a balanced build, and there's some very strong 9K plays that people may want. My gut reaction out of the gate is that there'll be a lot more. I'd rather go 2 9s and build downwards and even fade the 10K more than anything. But I do think Webb would be probably one of, if not him or Morikawa, to me would be the 2 most popular in the 10K range, followed by maybe Berger because he's the cheapest. I think English will be low coming off the win, especially being it was a lot done by the putter. Matsu, just because of the horrible showing last week, burned a lot of guys, and now he's 10-2. So I can see him being extremely low, and then Neiman kind of being the middle guy. So that's kind of how I see the big 10K range going. I won't play a chalky Webb. I never really, very rarely, DJ is probably one of my exceptions where I want to go overweight on the highest. If the highest price guy is also going to be the highest owned guy, I typically try to fade that in general. I think it's going to be kind of spread out because of the way the builds will fall, that I don't mind having him, even at field average. Let's say he's 20, 22%, something like that. I don't mind getting field average of him and moving on. I definitely like him more than English for all the reasons I said. English has an okay history here, 22nd, 64th, a miscut, 56, nothing crazy. Back on Bermuda, he's number 8 in my Bermuda rankings. So there are still things there to be there. to consider him, especially if he's low owned. You know, ride the heater with him. That's certainly not out of question. But you know, Webb's last 4 tournaments here: a 13th, a 13th, a 4th, and a 3rd. So very strong showing here. He's number 18 in recent form for me, a 10th at the Masters, 37th RSM, and a 17th last week. He's 5th in stats. Very solid. Very. I think his floor is a lot higher than some of the others. And as a safe play. Does that mean I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how much I'm gonna go to the 10K or above, because I think I'd rather lock and load around some of these 9, 8s, and even mix in some 7s for a much balanced build as we sit here, you know, Tuesday morning. But I do like Webb this week, which isn't a normal play for me. Normally I'm kind of off him, but I think he'll do well, and certainly don't mind him. My second play in this range is Sung Jae. Played him a lot last week, rode him in Showdown. You know, a 5th finish for him. Didn't close, you know, just didn't have a go low Sunday, but was right there, top 5. You'll take it. 9,800, good price. You know, I think a lot of people would pay 98 for him before 10-2 Matsu, which Matsu, you know, is going to be a great pivot option this week. The good thing about it is I don't care to have him really, but I don't see him getting above 10%. And so if I'm doing an MME, I can certainly play Matsu at, you know, field average and not take much risk there. I do like Sanjay's played here. This will be his 3rd straight year. He has a 16th, a 21st, and then now that he's playing this year, coming off playing last week, which is another positive, you know, for the story people, a 5th last week. So all in all, he looks great. His stats aren't as high because remember, you know, we got to kind of put our mindset back. Remember, he went that little 4 to 6 week stretch where he really struggled in his game. And so that's really where the deep dive comes in better for me, because I can see, you know, short versus long, middle, pull it all in. I anticipate him going up in my rankings come Wednesday night, but I like him at 9,800. My last one was very, very close between him and the Bubble Boy, but I went with Neiman, 10-4. He played here last year, which I like, so he's at least in the course. Got a 57th. He's better on Bermuda than most, although he's still not great compared to the field. You know, coming in with really good form. He's actually my number 1 in form. 44th, a 23rd, and a 2nd. The 10-4, I think, is going to get him just right in the middle of everything. I don't think he's going to be super high owned. I don't know that he's really, really low owned, but I think you're not going to have to expend a lot of exposure to get overweight if you want, or even to the field. He's 6th in stats for me. You know, his ball striking is just unreal right now. He's number 2 in the field overall in ball striking for me. 5th in good approach, 9th in opportunities gained, 42nd in birdie or better. So that kind of, you know, maybe a red flag a little bit, but all in all, I think he's playing really, really good. Looked solid last week. I expect him to be, you know, right there contending again this weekend. The Bubble Boy was Cam Smith. Very, very close on these two. Obviously, probably both of them will be, you know, very close to my final, you know, pool cutting deal. Last 5 years for Cam Smith here, miscut 27th, 18th, 22nd, and he won last year. So even though he won last year, which is great, he's, you know, 3 solid years before that. With, you know, I think 2016 was his first year, and he you know, had a miscut. So nothing too crazy there to worry me. He's 29th in the field in Bermuda putting, a 24th last week. Played pretty well all in all. Stat-wise, he's 24th for me. Just a hair below every major deal I looked at compared to Neiman, so that's why I put him on the Bubble Boy. But I still like him a lot this week. 8K range, number 1 in my entire rankings this week, and my first pick in this range is Henley. Always going to pop in everybody's model. The negative on him is hit or miss here. Miscut 13th, miscut 66th, miscut. So he's had 3 back to, you know, it seems like every even year he's had a miscut. He didn't get to play last week, which, you know, if you're the narrative story, that would be a knock as well. If he turns into really, really chalky, I could see myself going underweight because of some of those things. But I don't know that he will be super chalky. I think he'll just be kind of in the middle. We'll see. 3rd of my stats, 2nd of my recent form. The course fit, that's where he kind of struggles a little bit. 76th overall, you know, hit or miss here. So you know, I like him a lot in general. Being that he's 8,700, he doesn't have to win, but you're still going to need a top 20 scoring type performance for him. So we'll keep an eye on the ownership. That's the only thing that would worry me if he kind of becomes talked about a lot. Other than that, I like him a lot, lock and load. My next guy is Kisner. Kisner's 7th in my model overall, and I can make an argument I like him just as much as Henley, if not more. 9th in Bermuda putting. His last 5 years here, a 5th, a 4th, a 25th, a 69th, and a 4th. So he's made the cut every year, 3 top 5s with the 25th also. He's $100 more than Henley, so nothing crazy there. 9th in my stat model. Recent form's been pretty good. A miscut at the Masters, a 2nd at RSM, a 24th last week on a course that I think he maybe would say isn't, doesn't suit him really well, but I think this one does this week. So I really like Kisner. I think he's in contention, to be there this weekend and have a chance to win. My last one in this range was Garcia. Very close between him and the Bubble Boy as well. No course history here since 2016. I didn't go back further to see if he had played. 11th last week, which I liked. He's 19th on my stat model. He was paired with Neiman on the final day. Didn't finish as strong as Neiman, but 11th still pretty solid. My Bubble Boy is Zach Johnson. So there was 2 big deals with those two. I think Zach Johnson will be popular, and so Garcia would be kind of a pivot. They're both 85 and 8,300, and Zach Johnson has really, really good course history here. He's 5th in Bermuda putting, a 9th, a 6th, a 14th, and a 28th. He did miss a cut 2 years ago. A 6th at the RSM, 51st at the Masters. So, he plays this course really well and has a history. I assume he's going to be high owned. So why I like Zach Johnson just statistically and raw, looking at it better than Garcia. Factoring in the ownership, I bumped him down to the Bubble Boy because I want to see how popular he gets. And if I can get Sergio a lot less ownership, they're very, very close to me in my overall ranking. So I like them both. We'll see how ownership looks later on in the week. Last 7K range. First up for me is Munoz. Struggled out of the gates last week. Finished really, really strong the last 3 days. He has played here. He's got a 10th. Did miss the cut last year. 19th at the Masters, then 2 missed cuts, then came back with a 17th last week. He's 13th in my stat model. 78 feels like a really, really good price for him. I like that he fought back, kind of, you could call it shook off the rust Thursday and then played really well. He's mid-pack and putting Bermuda for me, so nothing crazy. But at 7,800, you're going to find weaknesses with all these guys. I like Munoz a lot this week. Brian Harmon, right below Munoz in my rankings. Overall, great course history as well. 30th in Bermuda putting for me. 13th, 20th, 4th, miscut, and a 32nd. His last 5 years out here had a miscut at RSM and a 30th at Mayakoba. He's 15th in my stat model. Definitely fits that profile of a little bit older guy, can grind it out here, and easily be in contention come Sunday. $7,800, just like Munoz. You don't need a great finish. It obviously, I think the upside with him helps. He's got a top 5 here, 3 top 20s, and only 1 missed cut in the last 5 years. So I think his floor is pretty safe as well. So I like Brian Harmon. Last up's a guy that was kind of surprised me when I built my GUPS power rankings, which are integrated into the rankings now. I think he could have a really special year this year, and I talked about it in my preview podcast. But Tom Hoagie, he's 27th in my overall model, 18th in Bermuda putting for me. Hit or miss here a little bit. Miscut 3rd, miscut 12th. So that's, nothing. I mean, you don't get worried about it, but it's certainly something we're going to keep an eye on. I do think he's playing much better in the last 20 months than he ever had in his career. So having a 12th here last year, I really like. A 3rd at Mayakoba. Missed the cut at the RSM, but very strong at the Mayakoba. Stat-wise, he's mid-pack. Actually, he's top 25% in the whole field, 37th overall. Birdie or better worries me a little bit, only 90th. But again, $7,300. You're gonna find 1 or 2 things wrong with all these guys. That's why they're priced down there. I like him a lot in general this year. He'll be a guy I'm targeting. I think I even picked him in my season-long deal, one of those pool deals I talked about in the preview pod. But certainly a guy that I think could get off to a good start this week. A little, I guess, knock would be that he didn't play last week, but There's going to be like 95 of these guys that didn't play last week. So eventually you have to play some people that didn't play last week. Cam Davis was a bubble boy. I love Cam Davis. You guys know that. Been on him for a tremendously long time. Boomer bust, definitely can boomer bust even within a round. I remember that when he was my pick of the week, I think he started out 4 over on the first 2 holes or something, wind up coming back, making the cut, and finishing in the top 5. So that was, cool to see. He can get birdies in a hurry. He's 4th in birdie or better out here. He just has big holes sometimes. I like that he's played here. It's his 3rd year here. A miscut the first year, not uncommon. Comes back, gets a 9th. So I like that he got a 9th last year. Hasn't played since the RSM. Had the miscut there. That's probably the only reason why I went Bubble Boys, because not only because he didn't play last week, but hadn't played since RSM. Is he shaky? I don't know. I got it earmarked to kind of go. What I do in something like here, I want to go see what was his schedule in 2019 and 2020. Was it similar to this? Had he had that many weeks off? Because we had a miscut and a 9th. So if there were differences in those 2 years, I want to see how that aligns with this year. I mean, that's some of the deep dive work that I'll do throughout the day today and moving into tomorrow. But on the bubble, just because of that. But 7,200, he's certainly got. These are the guys I was talking about earlier that can certainly. You can go Hoagie, Davis. Some guys we'll get to later. Grace, Norlander, Hoffman type. All those guys are under Straka, are 7 to 7,500. That you can Piercy, has got a runner up here that you can get 2 or 3 of them and really still be able to build without dipping down into the 6K this week. Speaking of the 6K, our last tier, my first play in this, again, I'm not real confident in this range this week right now. There are some I'm going to take some chances on if I'm doing the MME. 1 to 3 max right now, there's not a lot of guys. There's 1 or 2 I may go at. Obviously, they're going to be these guys I mentioned. All 4 of these are potential, but there's not a ton that just get me, all fired up. First one's Molinari. Same hit or miss here. Miscut 27th, miscut 12th. So I have a note on him. I know last year was harder scoring. I want to go back to 2017. I know it wasn't as hard of scoring as last year. But that was the year that JT won, but he beat the field by 7 strokes. So I kind of want to see overall what that looked like. 52nd in the field in stats. So, above average. He's 11th in Bermuda putting, so that's a positive for me. When I'm looking at guys at the 6K range, I want to find things that, okay, he likes Bermuda putting. If he can get off to a good start, then even the better. Recent form, pretty decent. If you look at the splits between tee degree and putting on his last 24 rounds, I think you'd be surprised that he's done pretty good at the tee degree side. So tee degree game's okay. We like him Bermuda putting. He's a guy that I'll take a look at. Second up for me is Wes Bryan. Can never get this guy right. He always pops in the statistical model. He's second for me in stat model wise, especially on courses where I'm not really paying attention to off the tee that much. He's going to definitely be higher up in general because his iron game and short game and stuff is typically pretty good for the field. 2018, he had a 32nd. 2017, a miscut here. Miscut at the Mayakoba. That's all he's played since then. 6,300 though. You all you need is a made cut from him. So he's definitely player pool worthy. Probably 20 plus lineup or more only for me. I don't know that he gets in conversation for like a 1 to 3 max this week, but someone to keep our eye on. Last in this range before the bubble boy is Brian Stewart. 6,900. He is a guy I think that could be kind of popular based on course history this week. A 45th, a 4th, an 8th, and a 53rd. So 2 really good top 10 finishes, but all 4 he's made the cut. So it's something, especially this week, T65 or better. He's 6,900. So if you're needing the salary to save, that's something that I think could boost his ownership a little bit. He's not going to be anything crazy this week. I don't think anybody in the 6K will approach 10% by far. I would be surprised if anybody gets to 8%. So ownership, not a big factor down here. Really going to, if you're dropping down here, you're just going to play the guys that you ultimately like. Stat model, he's 39th. In recent form, he's 44th overall. So I don't mind him. He's definitely some guy I'll keep an eye on if I need to get down this low. And then the bubble boy for me, who I actually think I like better than like a Molinari and all that, but just a couple things concerned me. He didn't play last week, and it's Doug Gim. He's 6,900 also. He played here last year, miscut, but that's not necessarily negative. We've seen a lot of guys that their first year here miscut, come back and back it up with a better performance, similar like Cam Davis. He's got really good form coming in, 18th at the RSM, 46th at the Mayakoba. Stat-wise, he's top 20 for me. The one thing that kept me on the bubble with him is he's in the bottom 20% in Bermuda putting. So my note on him is go look at his putting overall. Is he really good on other surfaces? And that's a deep dive deal that I'll do to see if he makes that final cut. But that's why he's on the bubble for me, is because a little worried about the putting there. And I need to see how he did here last year in putting, which I've already done some of that work. And I integrate that with my other articles out later today and tomorrow. But Gim's the guy that I have on the bubble. That's why he's a bubble boy. Going into the deep dive part of the conversation. Fade of the week for me is this was kind of tough. I almost went back to English, but I thought that was asking a bit too much. And I don't hate English this week because I think he's going to be low owned. Like if he'd have had the week he had last week and came in third, I think he would be a lot higher owned. And I know that's weird, but it just kind of seems how golf goes. That win can sometimes take a lot off somebody. I don't necessarily see that with English just because he's been playing so well already. But you never know. You're in Hawaii. You just won. Maybe you're not as sharp. He doesn't have his best finish in the last 4 years is 22nd. He's missed the cuts once, and the other two he was right on the edge of dead last of the guys that made the cut. So not the best course history, and he definitely rode the putter last week. So that's another thing that kind of has me off English. But my official fade of the week is going to be Answer. I think Answer will potentially get talked up a little bit. He finished strong, but when you dig into the numbers, he lost 5.4 strokes tee to green last week for the whole tournament. That doesn't, scream, come get me for a guy. So he made it up with his putter, obviously putted well to get to he finished 17th. He does have good form coming in, a 13th, a 12th, and a 17th. I think those things will keep him talked up. But at 9,400, I like so many other options around there that I just don't see me getting an Answer this week. He has played here, so there's another good deal here. I mean, I think he's going to be very popular. So I can come in here and give you some low owned guy and make him the fade of the week. That's not my idea. I want the fade of the week to be somebody I think will be up there and in consideration, and make that kind of bold prediction. Didn't work last week, so that's not saying it's a good thing. But I want to be out there on a ledge a little bit. 2018, he missed the cut. So here's another guy, first time here, missed the cut. Then he's got a 29th and a 38th. The problem is his pricing. He's 9,400. So, a 38th isn't going to do it here. Not at that pricing. I mean, he needs a top 10, maybe top 15 would be okay DK scoring. It just losing 5.4 off the tee to green, that's a big red flag for me. He could turn around, but no doubt. He's a great player. Obviously, Boomer Sooner. I have nothing against him. I just think he's a good spot to fade this week. My sleeper of the week is going to be Charlie Hoffman. I had a few candidates here, but I'm going to go with Hoffman. My only negative on him is that he didn't play last week. Missed a cut last year. It's the first time he played since 2016. I'm not worried about that. I think that could benefit him. 25th in Bermuda putting, 21st in my overall stats. Fits that profile, the quote-unquote older crowd guys. 7,000 on the number. I don't think he's going to get talked up a lot. I could be surprised there. But it gets me out of that 6K range. He's a guy that I would trust to at least have a shot to make the cut. He's really good on Bermuda putting. So last year he lost 1.4 strokes here. And I remember last year played a lot more difficult than this year will. And so some guy that, long-term is really good on Bermuda putting, if his tee to green game is good, and he's coming in 2 made cuts, 23rd at the RSM, 46th at the Mayakoba. I like him a lot this week. 7,000. I just need a made cut. Give me some top 40 upside. He'll pay off for me. And I like just where he's at personality wise. Seeing him in that 9-hole match play deal they were doing on Wednesdays during the kind of COVID deal, charity type deal. I liked listening to him and what he was all about. None of his stats are horrendous. They're all, really good to average. He's 21st overall in stats. So I like Charlie Hoffman this week, sleeper of the week. My gut feel plays. So these are going to be guys in general that are 30th and down in my ranking. So not way up there. 30th even pushing it. I like to be 40th or worse. And for one reason or another, long term, short term, whatever, I may know why their rankings are off. So like a Fowler, he's not here this week, but he's really struggled. But if you were feeling it per se, he may statistically in the opening model come out as like way low, but we know upside, blah, blah, blah. There's a guy on here I'm going to talk about in a second that fits that profile for me. But my first one is Piercy. I like him a lot this week. 36th in my model, initial model, $7,300. He's got a runner up here. He's made a ton of cuts here. His last 5 years here, 13th, 57, 25th, 33rd, 45th. Good recent form coming in, 18th at RSM, 40th at Mayakoba. Dead middle of the field in Bermuda putting. So not great, but not bad. I don't think he'll be talked up tremendously. $7,300. He's a gut feel guy that I don't mind having a conversation with. Patton Kazire has one here. Miscut, one, a 13th, and a miscut. So, course history is up and down a little bit, but he has one here. He's number one in my Bermuda putting rankings. A 10th at RSM, a 32nd at Mayakoba, which is really good for him. If you look at some of his stretches, he had some brutal stretches there. Actually got to meet him at I think it was Wyndham. Very nice guy. $7,700. You definitely need a made cut from him, but top 30-ish, 35. He's got a win here, and he's a 13th. So it seems like when he's on and makes the cut, he's going to contend. Love being number one putter. I don't think he'll rely on that solely. He's middle of the range and everything else stat-wise for me. He's 29th in birdie or better. So, I like him in general. I don't think he'll be talked about. I mean, he'll probably be sub 5% for sure. $7,700. I don't see a lot of people jumping on him. So he's number 2 gut field play. I do 4 of these each week on full field events. I'll do like 2 on the like last week, stuff like that. The third one is kind of a guy I was talking about when I was mentioning Fowler, and it's Leishman. So he's 111th in my model, but we all know there was a time there, in the not too long ago past that he was horrendous, finishing dead last in many tournaments he was in. You look at his history here, though. He's 9th in the field in history. His last 5 years, a 28th, a 20th, a 47th, a 3rd, and a 28th. He's 57th in Bermuda putting, so not horrible. $7,900. A good showing last week at 24th. He missed the cut at Mayakoba, a 13th at the Masters. So maybe we're getting him up on the upswing. He's a guy that you guys will see on my final rankings, premium members. I'll do manual adjustments on the final rankings sometimes. Most of the time it's for like Euros or new guys like Zalatoris, stuff like that. But he's a guy that I may bump up in those rankings because of where I think he's at today reflects a lot more than where his last, statistical data is bringing into it. Because 111 is horrible, but just watching him last week, he was a guy I earmarked in my notes, and I knew he would come out not very good in the rankings. I didn't think 111th. But with the course history and what he's got going, I think he could be in for, kind of on the upswing right now. So I don't mind taking advantage of that, while most people may not be paying attention. My last gut feel play of the week is CH3. I'm assuming he's going to get – now he's opposite of Leishman. I think he will get talked about a lot. He's not – he's 80th in my stat model, but, or 81st, I think. His course history here is he's 6th overall in course history, 13th, 8th, 32nd, 8th, 12th. Loves this place, plays it great. Doesn't seem to matter what kind of scoring conditions are here. He's always in it. He's midfield and putting. His last 3 tournaments, recent form, a 46th, a 30th, and a 23rd. So that's really good. 3 straight made cuts. Looked good. Looks like he's on the upswing as well in his golf game. So at $8,000, I think he'll be targeted because of the course history narrative here. I'll watch to see where the ownership kind of goes, but I don't mind having some Charles Howell in the player pool as well this week. So that kind of wraps up the DFS side of it. As always, betting one and done strategy brought to you by Monkey Knife Fight. I put out my Monkey Knife Fight full tournament plays on Wednesdays, and then with the showstoppers, I've been doing one play, my favorite play of the day. For round 2, 3, and 4. I believe they went 2-1 last week. Fairly confident in that, but I'll make sure next week I get that data brought in. I think the full tournament plays went 2-0 or so. I think I only had one loss. It was either 5-1 or 4-2 on the week. I know I was up, so that, definitely something fun. A lot of guys seem to get into it. It's a mix of betting, using some fantasy side, because it could be it's us against a book. So releasing plays like you would in betting is certainly something that's allowed. But it can be something like over or under 26.5 fantasy points this week, and though you can pick how many guys. You'll have at least 2 that you're picking between over, under. You can get 3, 4, or 5, and the more you're willing to go at, the bigger the multiplier would be. So you may pick 2 guys and go, I'm going to go over on DJ and under on Shoffley, and that multiplier is going to be 3x. So if you bet $10, you'd win 30. So what I give you is my favorite prop play on their site. If you have not tried it out, go check it out now. You can go to gupscorner.com/affiliates, get a direct link there, or just go to monkeyknifefight.com. Use the code GUPS GUPS. You get 100% of your first deposit up to $50. So a great offer they're doing there. Really be honing in on these as the season goes along. Next year for football, we'll definitely have it in. They have other sports too, so we'll slowly start working on like UFC, NASCAR, NBA, stuff like that, where we can tie in our content to some of the stuff out there on that book, especially because it's us against them. So you don't have to worry about like DraftKings, where ultimately we're playing against each other. So there's still some strategy there. This is just like making a bet. And it's fun because it does bring in the fantasy side of it. Sometimes it's scoring props, fantasy points, all that kind of stuff that we're already looking at, so we can take advantage of. Like last week, I thought they were not taking in consideration how low the scoring was going on their props. So I was on a lot of the overs. They probably have an algorithm doing stuff and in general looking at points scored and stuff like that. But when there's a scoring condition to go like last week, when you're getting 6, 7, 8, 9 under, maybe they're not taking advantage of it yet. So we can do that. I anticipate similar this week. We may have some of those opportunities. Betting strategy for me, my 5 the pop and then 2 long shots. First 5 that I liked. I like some of the guys up top, obviously, but I don't normally go that route very often. Henley is the lowest odds that I really like, 33-1. Harmon was 50-1. Cam Davis 100-1. Hoagie 100-1. Hoffman 125-1. 2 long shots. These typically would be borderline like top 10, top 20 bets. I don't know that I'll go outright. You could sprinkle a few dollars on there if you wanted to. But Doug Gim 150-1. That should translate into a good top 20 bet. And then Wes Bryan, he's 250-1. It'd be a really good top 20 bet. So those are 2 potentials for the card this week. Outrights and stuff like that I get out a little bit later today, and then the full card's out tomorrow. One and done strategy, we are back. If you haven't checked out JB, the new platform that I got going, carboncontest.com. All the same contests he had before that Gups Corner was hosting for him. He's now got his own platform. We made all those announcements over the last couple of months, so you can go check that out. Still talk to him daily, multiple times a day, if not that. So that one and done. You can register up till 5 minutes before Thursday, so they've extended the deadline there. The Carbon Cup, which is the season-long DraftKings contest, which is a ton of fun. I know there was maybe 10 spots left in the Diamond. I don't think any in the middle, and then there was maybe like 50 left in the Gold. So if you're wanting to get on those, you better get in now because they're going to be gone here shortly. Everything starts this week, so you didn't miss anything last week. New twist on the one and done this year, they have the Eliminator. So if your guy that you pick makes the cut, you survive. So it's almost like a Survivor twist from football. And out of all the people that are in it, the people that go the longest in the season without their guy missing a cut each week will share part of that prize pool. And I assume if they go through the entire season and there's ties, it'll be split. But that's a pretty good wrinkle because I'm probably looking more towards that than I am the skins play to start out because, I want upside, but you want a guy to makes the cut. And the skins play can be a really risky play. So maybe you save you're trying to go for and skins play, if you're new to that, is if you are the only person in the entire pool that picks the guy that wins, you get a skin. And then he'll take the total pot. And if there's 2 skins, you'll divide it by 2 and you get that money on the year as well. But that's a risk reward type deal, because if you're the only guy picking that guy, he's probably a longer shot. And so I probably will save going after that until I've been eliminated. It's going to be very hard to go the whole season with having a guy not make a cut. But I like the twist. I think it's a pretty cool idea that JB did. My strong play at this point in the season, I'm just I say this every year, but don't get too cute on this thing. I really think it helps if you get some kind of either spreadsheet or chart or whatever you work in better. And while you don't have to commit to a person on every single tournament, I think it helps to go through the exercise and see how many of these great guys are still available late in the year. And then that doesn't even take into consideration guys that storm up the field that we weren't really aware of last year, that are, especially for these opposite field events and stuff like that, are very weak field events. Guys like Doc Redman are going to be, top 5 in betting odds. We saw it last year. Zalatoris, he'll probably be really, talked about, but those guys are going to be there. They're going to be some guys come out of nowhere or really storm up. Kokrak was one that, had a tremendous year, coming towards the end of the year. But so I would play the best possible guy you want to right now, eliminating guys that you may still consider for either a WGC or a major. Because if those guys win, or if you're thinking like a Webb, if you go, I potentially could play him at a WGC and think he could win it, or a major, these pots that are really, really big, then don't go to Webb. But, between Webb, Neiman, Morikawa, Berger, even English, Matsu, I don't know if I'd go here. I'd wait till he's in a little bit better form. And then maybe the next level you can drop down, Sung Jae, Cam Smith, Kisner. Like, that's probably about as low as I'm going on the board this week. Like, you don't have to get cute. You don't have to come down here and pick, Griot, Brian Harmon. Yeah, those guys could easily contend here, but there's enough solid top guys up there. Henley, he's right there with Kisner. Those are guys that that would even be maybe taking a little bit of risk on, but it is a weaker field, per se. So if you want to take a little bit of a chance, it's okay. If you are going to try to go the skins route, I don't think I wouldn't advise it for week 1, but you got guys like Gooch, Kazire, like I mentioned, Molinari. I don't think those guys are going to be real popular this week. So the one thing about this week, because it's the very first week, not a lot of guys probably are going for a skin. So there's probably a better chance that you could have a chance at being the only guy that picks one guy. So it's a strategy deal. Definitely think through it all. The eliminator makes it another twist. So going to be a lot of fun doing that this year. Wish JB all the best. And he's got awesome things coming throughout the year as well. So make sure you go follow at Carbon Contest on Twitter. Of course, you're already following JB, GW Buffalo 7, if you have any questions for him. Wednesday night, E9, should be doing it at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time with Kenny Kim tomorrow. Kenny's committed, if you missed last week, to probably aim for 2 or 3 out of every 4 events, depending on his work schedule. Where last year we only did the major, so he came on maybe 5 times. If we get him twice a month, maybe 3 times a month if the schedule allows for it, he certainly will be here for all the big ones. That's a no-brainer. But he has committed to being on E9 a lot more, so I'm looking forward to that. I think our back and forth does a lot of good, not only for the community, but for us in general. It helps the conversations go along. So, in general, I'm super, super excited for this year. I told you guys that. We got awesome things coming. I can't wait till you guys see the new site and everything we've been working on. Really appreciate the support. Big time coming up here with golf firing back up. Football's going to be winding down soon. NBA's rolling. I know that's kind of a mess with all the COVID stuff. UFC's firing back up this weekend. MLB's right around the corner. Todd's got things going in there for preseason. If you're wanting to get in MLB, some strategy type stuff, he's doing kind of an educational type, walking through things as the season gets closer and closer. I think it starts in April. NASCAR will be getting here. I know Ryan and Scott are excited for that. That group in there is a very close-knit group in the NASCAR Slack. They do a great job. So that's another sport you can take advantage of. Our package includes everything. Only thing you're choosing between is if you want the content analysis only or you want to add on our tools package. if you do the full site, you get everything, every tool, every upgrade we do, every enhancement we do. We just did major upgrades to the green machine. We got more coming, like I mentioned, brand new from the foundational base of football tools for 2021 that are going to be awesome. Huge upgrades within the new site. So I'm looking forward to all that. Hope you guys have a great year this year. We'll see you Wednesday night with Kenny. Have a blessed week and good luck this week.